Hi guys, this is Chhavi Gupta, and today we just want to discuss about what you can do to prepare for CAT or better prepare for CAT and be more prepared for your final examination. So this is going to be around a 45 minutes, just a session. I will be giving you some tips regarding the different sections that are there in CAT exam. And after that, obviously, during the video, you can keep on asking me some specific questions if you have any, and I can go ahead and answer them towards the end or also in between if that is relevant. So I hope that all of you have started your preparation now that it's October and a bit less than 2 months is left before your exam. So I will just start section wise to give you tips for every section. So, firstly, I will talk about the VARC section. I know that people think that this is a very intuitive section, and people who just are good with language do definitely do well in this section. However, who are not really good with English, they are they to increase your accuracy and maybe the overall speed so that you can complete as many questions as possible in VARC. But in case that you are not really good with the language, then I would advise you that don't be disheartened, but you will really need to work on English. Okay, so while working on English, you will need to understand definitely the basic grammar. But grammar as a question does not come in CAT. So the questions that instead you will have are from passages or the paragraph types in which they are jumbled up sentences. So for all of that, you need to have a basic understanding of grammar so that you can connect the different sentences together. So that said, what can you do to improve it? If you kind of have some idea of the language and some idea of the grammar, then what you should do is you should read read a broad range of novels, of editorials, of blogs. If that is something you like, just read a different variety. Because if you just keep on reading, say, some specific fictional, writer, then you will just kind of get attuned to his or her writing style. And that is why it is important for you to read a broader range. What happens also, what is something that happened with me was that while I was giving different mock tests, I used to kind of get bored in a few of the topics, especially say politics or international business. I don't know, some different topics, and those were things that I had never read about, and I think that is why I did not really like that as well. And so I got bored, and I used to lose track in middle of the paragraph, and hence I had to read it again. That wasted a lot of time. What I realized was, when I did a lot of RCs, when I read a lot of different paragraphs from different fields, that is when I knew a little bit about every single field, or at least I had the ability to continuously read about that field. And that is something that really helped me. So if that is something, that is one thing that you might have faced, because I had faced it. So that is something that you might have faced, then this is the solution to it. You should read editorials. There are multiple apps which kind of aggregate all the editorials of newspapers on a particular day, so you can just go ahead and read from that, or you can read the basic newspaper, or just keep reading in your continuous habit to improve this will definitely improve your reading speed. This will also help you in improving or bettering your vocabulary. This will in general help you in the VARC section. So that is a good thing. That is something you should definitely do. Along with this, overall, you should always be practicing these questions. So there are multiple avenues of practicing questions. You can do them from different books, you can do them from sectional tests, etc., that are there, or you can do them from mock tests. So the idea is to continuously try to improve it and also to test it every time. So by giving these different tests, you will be testing what you have learned till now. So that is definitely a good thing to do. You will understand how much better you have got in language, how much you are able to attempt more, how much is your accuracy. Another thing would be that in this section, try and aim for an accuracy of about 80 to 85%. Because if you go below that, you will be, attracting a lot of negative marks. But if you go above that, that means that you are kind of, attempting less. Because after a point in time, your accuracy and your number of attempts will go inversely. So if you try to be very, very accurate, that means you'll be spending a lot more time in each question, and hence you will be attempting less. So the idea is to have an overall of about, say, 80-85% of accuracy in this section. So this was mainly about RCs. For VA, again, I mean, these are very difficult questions. Okay, I mean, I accepted it because these are type and type of questions, and you cannot do so much in these questions. So the only idea is definitely practice them while you have time, but keep a specific time for the VA questions. Because what will happen is that you will, suppose you start with the VA questions, because they're so difficult, you might end up spending 25 minutes in those questions, and that is something that is not recommended. My ideal time was 40 and 20 minutes of break in both of these, 40 minutes for RC and 20 for VA. And that was because I was able to read quickly. So maybe you can have, I mean, the ideal split is around 42 to 45 minutes for RC and the remaining for VA. Because in VA, the chances of getting things wrong is so high that it's not really advisable to spend a lot of time over there. Definitely do attempt the questions, at least the type and type of questions, because they have 0 negative marking. So that's a plus. And some questions might be actually easy. So do definitely look out for that. Spend minimum of 15 minutes in that section, but do not spend more than 20 minutes also. That is my advice for VA. And VA in general, as I've said, it is difficult. So don't get very disheartened also. I also had an accuracy of about 50% in the VA questions specifically in the mocks that I had given. Because, I mean, the author can be thinking a particular way while writing that paragraph, and the jumbling could be different, etc. So don't get very disheartened, but at least, try to attempt them every time in every mock test that you give, so that you get an idea of how much time each question is taking you, and how much accuracy you have. So this is all for VA RC section. You can maybe ask any questions if they are there at this moment. Secondly, I will then come to the LRDI section. So after VA RC, definitely quite a few questions are missed in this in the VA RC section, because it is a bit long if your reading speed is not very high. But in LRDI, you actually have to strategize to try to not solve all the questions, because LRDI is not only the questions. I think the overall section is made in a way so that you can put in your logical reasoning there. Okay, so what I identified after giving quite a few mocks was that it is not important to do all the questions in LRDI, unless obviously it is extremely easy, which has not happened since quite a few years. So in LRDI, what is needed is that you understand what are the questions to be attempted and what are the questions to be left also. So you need to understand both of those. For that, what I used to do, I just spent initial 5 minutes identifying, just by reading the basic paragraph, that which one does it fit? Is it a DI question? Is it an LR question? And also, what is the approximate difficulty according to me, just by reading the paragraph. Okay. So based on that, because I had a preference for LR, so I used to do questions like easy LR, then easy DI, medium LR, medium DI, and so on. So I just identified all the different sets, and I used to get them in an order. Then I started solving. So I spent a good 5 minutes in this, and then only I started solving all the questions. What it did was, I had somewhat of idea that this is an LR question. I could make up my mind while doing the question. Also, it kind of set a whole criteria that this last question, even if I'm not able to go and attempt it, it's fine, because it is apparently very difficult. So also it helps you in avoiding the hopping. So sometimes what people do is that they start a particular set, then they are like, okay, I'm not able to solve it, then they hop on to some other, then they come back that maybe this one was easier. So all these things you will avoid it just by identifying and making a particular sequence. So try to do that. Making a particular sequence will help you a lot in solving LRDI. This might take some practice, so this will not happen just from day one. You will require some practice, so I mean, give it some time, give a lot of mock tests in which you make this ordering, so that you are very accustomed to this and you can very easily do this on the final exam. Don't try new things on the final exam. Just practice this well and then attempt it. So once you are done with that, LRDI is, once you have identified the easy questions, then you have to start solving the set, obviously. But in case you feel that you are not able to get the gist of the set in the first 5 or say 6 minutes when you're solving the set, then you can make a call whether you want to stick to this set or you want to move to other set. So my approximate time for every set used to be 10 to 12 minutes. Now these 10 to 12 minutes, I mean, if I am not able to get even a gist or how the solution is going to come or what am I going to do in the first 5 to 6 minutes, that means that I will probably require more than 12 minutes for this particular set for solving all the 4 questions. So in such a case, I would just skip the set. I would leave a bit of space so that in case I have to come back, I can start from wherever I stopped and then go to the next set. This is extremely important because what people do is that when they are, solving a set, they just get into it. They just don't want to leave that particular set. But CAT is not about, showing that to solve all the sets. It is about finding the right ones and solving the maximum in the given time. So you definitely need to focus on this, that when do you want to leave that particular set. So around 5 to 6 minutes used to be cut off for me. You can try the same. If you feel that you are able to solve sets quicker, maybe 4 minutes could be cut off for you. If you feel that you require at least 13 minutes to solve a set, maybe 6-7 minutes could be a cut off for you. So that, if you have started solving the set, you have solved the first 2 questions, and then somehow you realize that this third question is extremely difficult and it might require you, it requires you to assume something, it requires you to take extra 5 minutes to solve that particular question, it is always best to skip that question. You can anyway come back whenever you have time in the end. So skip the questions where you feel you require more than 2 minutes to solve that particular question. That is the idea, and maybe in the end, towards the end, you will just have like 4 or 5 minutes left in the section, so you can come back to questions like this and solve them in 4 and 5 minutes. So you will be able to solve the question at the time where you would not be able to start a new set. So this is a good idea. These are the 3 major things that I followed. So make a sequence initially, know when to leave a set, and know when to leave a question within a set. So I hope that this will really help you in LRDI. Another small tip for DI was that initially I used to use a calculator for everything because the numbers were so huge and I could not do it on my own quickly. So I used to use the calculator very very frequently, and that reduced my speed a lot. So the idea of DI mostly in most of the sets is that you just need an approximate number. So if you are given some 17,800 and something and you have to multiply it with something else and there's an entire table you need to do it with, that means that you can just take the initial 3 digits, eliminate a few line items just by doing a manual check. So you will be able to reduce the number of calculations you need to do on a calculator. That will also help you a lot because it will help you reduce the time. It will also, overall it will help you because using calculator is tedious because there's no keyboard input as well. So this is all for LRDI mostly. LRDI you definitely need to practice a lot. LRDI in CAT is not like you will get some basic arrangement questions etc. You will get difficult questions, and they kind of have started merging the logical reasoning and the data interpretation part also. That makes it even more difficult. So the only key is to practice. Now that you also have the CAT papers for the last 2 years etc., it is easier to actually do the questions that were there. Try and do those questions, do all the LRDI sets in a very timed manner. Do not think, that I will just solve this, I will take as much time as it is needed to solve this, but I will end up solving it. That does not really help, because that is not what cat requires from you. It requires you to solve things in a particular time. So whenever you are practicing, whenever you are doing whatever, you should always have a time. I'll just take a question. So it is, what should be the average time one should spend to read RC? Okay, so basically in RC, the generic questions are 3 question RCs or 6 question RCs. So in 3 question RCs, I used to spend around 5 minutes. 5 minutes, actually around 3 to 4 minutes reading it, and then 2 to 3 minutes doing the sets. So you can assume around 6 to 7 minutes for the entire thing. Actually 5 to 6 minutes for the entire thing. And the 6 question RC, I used to spend around 10 to 11 minutes. So just target that, just see what is your reading speed, and then you can obviously improve upon it. So see if you can target 3 question RC in 5 to 6 minutes and 6 question RCs in about 10 to 11 minutes. Obviously, if you have 4 to 5, you can automatically change that. So just try to do that. That should be the perfect time, because if you do that, then you will be able to attempt all the questions in the RC section. So just try and do that. Also, do not feel, in the final day, if you have a feeling that, I am going slow, or this set was extremely difficult. So do not have that feeling, because if the set is difficult for you, it is difficult for everyone. Okay. So just while doing the questions, also have a quick timer in your mind, that okay, so much time I have spent on this set, now I should just go on another set. Okay, so just don't be very very hard on yourself that this is the time that I have to finish all the questions. Maybe you can leave a few questions as well, so don't worry so much about it. But things can be different on the final day, but obviously practice in such a way so that you are able to really solve all the questions and solve the entire section. For LRDI also, as I said, so approximately a set should take around 10 to 12 minutes. And initial 5 minutes, it would be good if you spend in ordering the questions, in ordering of the questions. And yeah, I guess so that would give you around in 60 minutes, around 5 sets you will be able to attempt at least. Now it depends on how much your accuracy is and how difficult the sets are, that how many questions you are able to do. But I think minimum of 5 sets you should be able to attempt. In my examination, I think I attempted a total of 6 sets, and I think I skipped 1 question out of those 6 sets. So that is just kind of have an idea of how much time you need, and on basis of that you can complete the LRDI section, etc. Okay, so now I will go on to the quantitative ability section. Again, a lot of people are really scared of this section. They feel that if only engineers can do well in this section, and not really commerce background people or people who do not have maths from class 10. So the idea is that this section, even though it is not extremely easy, it is not the most difficult section out there. So what you need to do is that firstly have your basics extremely clear. So how you can do it is, of course, by starting the NCERT books from class 6 to class 10. This was my idea of having covered the syllabus. Maybe you can take some books that are there which give you the syllabus, but NCERTs from class 6 to class 10 kind of have the entire syllabus. So in that, once you have covered the basics, once you know that these are the major topics that are there, these are the basic formulae that are there, once you have all of that, after that you will feel more and more comfortable with doing the questions. So what will happen is that once you have the formulae in place and you practice a lot of questions, you will have them ingrained in your mind. So that will just help you overall in solving the quantitative ability section. What I did, even though I was a math student, was I made a formula list that was helpful to me. So all the formulae from geometry, from different topics, I used to just segregate in different things, and I made an entire formulae list for QA. Whatever formulae I had to use in I don't know, some different questions that I was unable to solve, etc., etc. I just noted them all down. So, how it helped was whenever I was stuck with a new question, or I mean, I was unable to solve it, then when I was analyzing the mock test, I would see that, this was the formula that I could have applied and I did not. So, that helps you just remember formulae better. It always helps me to write things down. So, you can also choose to do that or take any formula list that is out there. So this was the very basic tip about quant during preparation. During the exam as well, try and not spend more than 2 minutes on any question. Okay, most of the questions are supposed to be done in 1 or 1.5 minutes. Do not spend more than 2 minutes in any question. Any question which you feel that you're almost there but it would require 1 minute more, maybe just leave some space and move on to another question. The problem with most of the math students is that they feel that how am I not able to solve this particular question, it's not possible, and then they stick on it. So some questions could be so difficult, they could be kind of traps, where you will just keep on spending 5 or 6 minutes wherein you could have done 3 questions. So just keep that always in mind, that CAT is not a different scoring pattern for each question. They have the same scores for each question. Till the time at least they have the same score for each question, you should always aim to increase your number of attempts. So that should be your aim overall. So do not spend more than 2 minutes. Another thing would be to actually whenever you are solving a particular question, in the end, always do look at what the question was asking. Okay, so my accuracy in quantitative ability was almost 80-85%, which was not right. It should be 90, it should be at least 95 or 90%. So what was the problem was that when I was solving questions, I was able to solve almost all of them, but I did not really read the exact question that it was asking in the end, and instead I would give some other answer. If they're asking speed, I would give distance or something like that, because they have options such that people do get confused. So that is also an extremely important thing, to actually listen, just read about what the exact question is asking. So that would help you reduce your silly mistakes as well. This is how I figured out that the silly mistakes that I make are mostly either it is a number copying mistake, or it is a mistake like this wherein I just end up giving the wrong answer even when I know the right one. So this is also extremely important. Once you have solved the question, you would want to get the credit for it and not make a silly mistake. This can only be identified by obviously practicing a lot and then analyzing the questions that you have practiced also. So just giving out questions or doing questions does not cut it. You need to practice questions in a timed manner. Do keep a 1 to 2 minutes idea in your brain, and then keep on doing questions, and then also analyze them very well. So analyzing them would require just looking at what different formulae could be there and what, if any, silly mistakes that you have made. Sometimes it also helps to actually look at the solution that is given at the website. That will give you maybe a better solution of how you could have solved the problem. So in case that you have how much time you spent in that particular question, maybe you could have spent lesser time with a new formula or with a new trick or something. So always be aware of keeping on learning new things in quantitative ability, even if you know all the formulae. So okay, there's a question on the important topics in quant. So basically, I think geometry was something that was extremely important, followed by probability, permutation and combination, etc. And obviously time and things related with it, distance, speed, and then there are things like questions like the escalator is traveling at this speed, someone is traveling. So these questions are kind of pretty common in CAT. Geometry definitely takes out a large chunk of it, and geometry in CAT is actually not that difficult because it is just circles and triangles and all of that. So once you have the formulae in your place, it can be extremely easy. So just try and identify, at least I would say do not skip geometry. It is not a good idea to skip any of the topics. But for example, I had a lot of trouble doing numbers, because numbers, what would be the remainder, what would be the last digit, and all of these things. And what I have seen is that, you should have some basic idea of how to do these multiple type of questions. But this was one topic which maybe you do not need to go into too much depth in. I mean, the number of questions from this topic have not been so many, but if there are any questions, you should definitely know how to, what is the process to attempt it. Okay, then there's another question on, from where should I practice LRDI? Well, you have mock tests, you would have sectional tests, I would advise you to give it only online on a laptop, because that is how the exam is going to be. Giving it offline kind of gives you the edge on, if say it is LRDI and there's some diagram made, some Venn diagram, etc., you kind of start using that Venn diagram that is already drawn. While in an online test, you will not have that advantage. So you will have to actually copy the diagram and then solve it. So it's always a better idea to do it on an online format, because that is how you are going to have it finally. So LRDI, definitely, I mean, you can take up mock tests, you can take up sectional tests, etc. And I would also advise you to do the CAT last year and the previous year question papers very thoroughly online. Okay, so just attempt them like they are your real exams, and maybe you will get a very good idea in how you're performing or how your progress is going. Another question is, what is a good attempt in English section in terms of numbers? So okay, while I in the final exam I attempted around 29 questions out of 34. It was mainly because the VA had a few negative marking questions, and I also left a few in RCs where I was extremely confused. So a good attempt would be anything above 25, I would say, in the VARC section. Do try not to leave any questions if VA is entirely non-negative. So those 10 questions you automatically do. And from the 24 in RC, definitely try to attempt all the RCs. And in case you have to leave a few questions in some particular passages, you have to do that, because some RC questions are so close, the options are extremely close, that you cannot really, at that time maybe you would not be able to solve it. So somewhat about 25 to 27 should be a decent attempt. Definitely try to attempt more if you are able to. And obviously, as I said, attempting more would require you to increase your speed of reading mainly. Also, just one tip about RC again is to improve your accuracy. If you feel that a few options are extremely close, I mean, you just cannot identify which one would be right or not, just try and see the difference that is there in both the options. Maybe a few words, difference of maybe just a few words would kind of change the meaning of the sentence. So just see what is the difference instead of the similarity in both of these options, and maybe then taking from what is the crux of the paragraph, etc., you can understand which one of the options would be correct. So that would be another tip. And I have talked about accuracy of VARC, which should be about 85%. LRDI definitely should be above 95%, because if you are spending so much time in doing a set, in solving the questions, then you should be able to get very good accuracy as well. So definitely aim for something above 95%, and in quant as well, minimum above 90% accuracy would be needed, and good to have would be above 95% definitely. I would also give you a good attempt in quant. I mean, based on your speed, I think you can very easily get above 27 or 28. So wherever you are, try to increase your speed in whatever phase of preparation you are. Try to increase your speed over there, which can definitely happen through practice, through getting the formulae on your tips, and just by trying to avoid silly mistakes, you will be more confident and will be able to solve questions quicker. So all these things would improve your number of attempts as well. In LRDI, I would in general not say a good or an average number of attempts, because it depends a lot on the difficulty of the section. The time I gave CAT in 2017, in CAT 2017, I think that around 24 or 25, 25, 26 was the maximum number of attempt out of 32 questions. So you can say an average would be about 20, and that was a very difficult paper of LRDI. So try and at least solve 4 to 5 sets in every mock that you are given, and obviously if it is easy, try to solve 7 or 8 maybe. So that would be kind of an overall view. Secondly, I will just speak a little bit about mock tests. So the idea of mock tests is to know where where you are at this moment in your preparation. It is not about getting demotivated or getting overly excited based on the result that you get. The idea that most of the students kind of get is that if I give a mock test right now where I am not really totally comfortable with the syllabus, I will not perform well. So the only thing you should think is that it's fine if you don't perform well. It's fine. It is not the real CAT. You are just doing it for practice. You're just doing it to improve your own score. So don't be worried or don't be scared of mock tests. You should definitely give a mock test every week. That is the minimum, and maybe in November you should give 2 in 1 week. So do not get afraid of mock tests, because they will just help you analyze what you are doing wrong or what you are doing right as well, and then just improve your score. So give mock tests every week, and also spend a good 3 hours to 2 or 3 hours to analyze them as well, because just giving the test and just looking at the final answer will not really cut it. So you should be looking at all the questions that you did not attempt, all the questions that you did wrong, maybe all the questions in which you spent way too much time than required. So these type of questions, you should not directly look at the solution. You should definitely try and attempt these questions again. Once you attempt these questions again, keep just a timer with you. Just see how much time it takes you to solve that question. Maybe what you are having is just exam anxiety and you are able to solve the questions later on. So that is also something that you should be aware of, that what is the exact problem. Once you know that problem, then you will be able to tackle it. By giving a lot of mocks, you will just get over the exam anxiety. So this was a major tip, because people really shy away from mock tests, and I don't think that this is the time to do that, because many people just do not want to start mock tests just for the fear of what will be my score. This will kind of dictate my final score, etc. That will not happen, obviously. So you can always improve. So just don't be afraid of them. And I guess those were all the major tips from my side. So good luck everyone. If there are any questions, I'll just wait another minute, and maybe you can just ask me on another webinar by Equation. And don't be very worried, just do well. Just keep in mind the basic averages of number of attempts, of the accuracy that you should kind of have in each section. Keep on attempting and practicing more and more to improve both the accuracy and the speed. And hope all of you do really well while you are practicing and in the final examination as well. So that I think would be kind of it from my side. Do not be scared of doing mock tests. So I hope that you do mock tests every week, and maybe you can also kind of make a graph or something like that I made. I mean, it is just to see how I am progressing over the weeks. So maybe just do that. Per section you can see what is your accuracy every week and all of that. So that will just help you get a little bit more motivated about preparing well. And definitely, apart from that, do think that you are doing something else. Do not just get totally bogged down into CAT as well, but obviously be consistent with your overall preparation. Okay, there's another question, that how should I proceed with mock test? Should I focus on complete tests or topics I am weak in? So this specifically, I mean, as I said, you should give one mock test every week. So that one mock test would be one complete mock test. What it will do is that obviously it will help you practice. In by analyzing it, you will improve in all your topics, but it will also increase your ability to sit down and give an examination for 3 hours, which is something that I had lost after working for 2 years. So initially, in the initial few mock tests, I used to become very tired by the end of the examination after 2.5 hours. And by giving a lot of mock tests, I kind of gained that strength to give an exam sitting throughout for 3 hours. That is something that is important. So, and hence you should have one complete mock test every week. Apart from that, as I have told you that the different topics, you can identify where you are weak at, so you should definitely also give sectional tests. Sectional tests are, they can be of some specific topic, or they can be an entire section test in general. Sectional tests are also important because they do not take so much time as a mock test, but they will tell you in that particular section what you are lacking or what you are not. So just do one complete mock test every week, and definitely when you're analyzing and practicing and trying to improve your particular sections, definitely try and do, I mean, in between, in I think September, October, I did almost one sectional test every other day. So maybe you can have something like that in your mind and do three to four sectional tests or specific topic tests. One thing that I will definitely say, that whether you are doing sectional tests or you are practicing from questions from a book or online, do keep a timer with you, okay? Because keeping a timer is like, it is utmost important. So by keeping a timer, you will know that how much time you are taking in every question and what is the time difference you are taking in different type of questions, so that if you get different type of questions, you know which question will require less time and you can try and attempt that in the end. So yeah, that would be my advice for giving the different kind of mock tests or practice in general. um, I guess that would be it from my side then today. And all the best for your preparation and for your examination and for your mock tests. And yeah, good luck.